South Africa had quite a week, an unlikely political partnership, extraordinary scenes in Verulam, an international investigation, a new SADC chair. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, the week in perspective. President Cyril Ramaphosa formally assumed the SADC chairpersonship this week, with South Africa placing regional integration, infrastructure, industrialization, and intra-regional trade among its priorities. Migration was also firmly on the regional agenda, including concerns about irregular migration and the treatment of foreign nationals in South Africa. That conversation would soon move outside the summit. In the Western Cape, a 16-year-old boy arrested in Malmesbury faces multiple charges following an investigation involving international law enforcement agencies into alleged online sexual exploitation material. Authorities are also investigating a possible link to the international online network known as 764. The teenager has since been referred for psychiatric assessment. And in Verulam, security patrols have been increased after well-dressed men were reportedly caught engaging in sexual acts at a local cemetery. Residents say the behavior has become an ongoing concern. Security around the SADC Summit was exceptionally tight. In separate incidents, 3 foreign nationals, 2 Congolese and 1 Zimbabwean, were arrested over alleged attempts to enter secured areas without authorization. Authorities did not link those arrests to March and March. But while security focused on who was trying to get inside the summit, outside, March and March had arrived with a message for the leaders already in it. What comes after the march? 17 August 2026, Durban. On Monday, March and March took its campaign against illegal immigration to the streets outside the SADC Summit under the message, "It's time to fetch your people." The movement called on regional governments to take responsibility for citizens living in South Africa without legal documentation, while announcing a new deadline of 30 September. Ngobese-Zuma also rejected President Ramaphosa's apology to regional leaders over violence and discrimination against foreign nationals, arguing that South Africa had nothing to apologize for. The demonstration was heavily policed. Shops along parts of the route closed as protesters approached, while officers formed protective lines around sensitive areas. Tensions rose near the Durban Exhibition Center, where protesters and police pushed against one another before riot shield officers blocked access to the secured area. March and March had gone there to deliver its demands to SADC leaders. But reporting indicates that the memorandum addressed to those leaders was ultimately handed to police. There was no immediate policy concession from AdC. The march had generated visibility, but the question remained, what comes after protest? The following day, Ngobese-Zuma walked into AfriForum, saying she wanted to learn about advocacy, legal strategy, fundraising, and institution building. The meeting triggered criticism, jokes, and considerable political curiosity, but meeting AfriForum wasn't by itself unprecedented. Jacob Zuma has met AfriForum. Julius Malema has also engaged the organization in the past, although under very different and far more adversarial circumstances. So the meeting itself isn't necessarily the story. What matters is what came out of this particular meeting. AfriForum and March subsequently announced a collaborative working group identifying possible cooperation around community organization, education, safety, crime, and legal matters. The organizations also said they could cooperate on rule of law issues and pursue legal matters of mutual interest, including matters involving illegal migration. And the exchange appears to have continued beyond the meeting. Ngobese-Zuma has since begun sharing AfriForum's border research and documentary material with her own supporters. From national mobilization in June, to regional pressure at SADC, and now cooperation with an established civil organization, the strategy appears to be expanding. Ngobese-Zuma has also launched the South Africa First Forum, while continuing to insist that March and March is not becoming a political party. So is March attempting to turn the attention generated by street protest into something more permanent: organization, advocacy, litigation, and influence? It's too early to say. Working with AfriForum does not mean March and March has become AfriForum, nor does cooperation on selected issues mean the organizations suddenly share the same politics. The next test may come quickly, March in March has set 30 September as its next deadline on undocumented migration. Legal action? Joint projects? More street mobilization? We'll be watching whether the AfriForum relationship produces concrete action and whether March and March future remains primarily in the streets or increasingly inside institutions. Those were some of the stories that shaped the week. Not every headline has an immediate answer. Sometimes perspective comes from watching what happens next. I'm Jennifer. This is the Perspective Room. Facts first, perspective always.